What is up, Solow Sportsters? I am here on some of the nicest grass courts on the East Coast to review the first official Federer Wilson racket, the RF Future 1619. Stick around, see what I thought about it, and maybe it's my future racket. For this play test, we decided to go with Luxilon Eco Spin, their newest string in their newest racket at my go-to tension at 46 pounds. It helps us compare apples to apples so that I know when I'm trying this racket with my favorite string and my favorite tension, I can compare it to my normal racket of choice and not have to be confused by how much of this is the racket, how much of this is the string. So again, Luxilon Eco Power Spin at 46 pounds.
The RF Future 16x19 is 280 grams, which equates to 9.9 ounces unstrung. While we don't have official measurements for the swing weight and balance point, as we need more samples to come in, we expect the swing weight to be around 310 with a balance point of 13 inches, making it 4 points head light. It has a 98 square inch head size, a length of 27 inches, and, you guessed it, 16x19 string pattern, and appears to have a constant beam of 22 millimeters. The stock grip is the RF Premium, which is basically the Pro Performance with an RF logo on it, and has a sleek anthracite cosmetic that shifts beautifully with the light. The Future is the lightest of the three.
Roger and Wilson have thought of it all when it comes to this silo. They offer 3 variations of the racket to really encompass every player looking to get on court. So our highest level racket is the RF Pro. It's 320 grams, unstrung, quite a heavy racket, and a 1619 pattern. Then your standard weight is just simply the Wilson RF, 20 grams below at 300. Same beam, same everything, same string pattern, 1619. And finally is the mid-weight option, the Wilson RF Future. I love what he's done with the name. He's alluding to that up-and-coming player, that mid-weight racket, 280 grams, and as you've guessed, the same 1619 pattern and all the other specs. So whether you're an up-and-coming player, a great player, or a high-level tournament player, Wilson and the RF series has something for you in the ever-evolving game.
From the baseline, I had a lot of fun with this racket. Very maneuverable, super easy to whip around. Since it's only 280 grams, it's super easy to maneuver. Where I felt I got into trouble is when someone was really hitting hard at me. It didn't quite have the stability and the plow through that you'd expect or want from a Federer racket. Granted, it is the Future, so I can only expect so much from it. But I think what's great about a racket like this is it's a great platform to build up from. So if you pick a racket that's 300 or 320 grams, you might be in trouble because there's no room to take it down. With something like this, there's room to throw a little lead at 3 and 9 to get it that little more weight. There's room to throw a leather grip on and those sorts of things. So for me, this is a great start, a great platform, because it was super fun and whippy from the baseline, but I can build it up until it hits that point where it's a little too much, and I know then to scale it back.
These rackets were designed and engineered for the next generation of tennis players, and that's by Roger himself and Wilson. It's written right on the racket, but you can always expect when Roger's in on the project to find some really nice detail and some really nice accents. So first is going to be on the end of the grommets. You'll see his initials. Instead of just finishing at a cut, it's a really nice touch. Another thing that you're gonna see is there's going to be 2 pinstripes on one side, and that would be for his twin girls. And then when you look on the other side, you'll see 2 more pinstripes. You got it, for his twin boys. Then on the bottom, how cool is that? You don't have your iconic Wilson red cap logo. You have the RF logo, which looks superb. And when it comes to the cosmetic, it's an anthracite. It looks black in the dark. It really brightens up and lightens up to a gray with some sun. It has a color shifting hue. What do you guys think of that?
So while most rackets release in time for large events like the US Open or Wimbledon or the Australian Open, This racket is very unique in that it's releasing on Roger's birthday, August 8th, for Roger. Now, I think Roger's birthday is more important than any of the slams, but that's just me as a diehard Fed fan. But that's really nifty that you actually get something to release a little bit ahead of some of these large tournaments so that you're gearing up for it and you're not just slammed with all these 500 rackets all at once. Also, there are the Olympics going on. So there are a lot of great things going on, but very unique that a company will release a racket for someone else's day as opposed to a particular time on the tennis calendar. So with the name being the RF Future, I think the name is 100% spot on. First of all, calling out to the futures, like the futures moving into challengers, moving into the professional circuit, but also it's great for future professional players or future tournament players. This is a great tweener frame, so after they've had their very first adult racket, but before they're ready for, let's call it their final racket or their college racket or their end of high school racket, this is a great frame to help move them from that first to that last frame. Because it's in that middle weight class, around 280 grams, not an oversized, not bigger than 100, it's a 98, so it's got that great control, but it's also a pretty comfortable, powerful frame as well. So I think it's a great tweener frame, a great transition moving from your first to your final frame. Now this racket was super fun, and maybe it was mostly the grass courts pulling me up, but up at net, this was so much fun. It was great, it was a dream. Was able to get it out in front, volley deep, really knife those volleys a la Federer. I just felt like him out on court. Unfortunately, my volleys weren't quite as beautiful and quite as crisp as his, but this is definitely a racket that I felt comfortable up at net with. I didn't feel like I was overthinking, overplaying. I didn't feel like anyone could bully me around. I felt like the racket held its own enough, especially for a racket that's 280 grams, so it's right in my wheelhouse. And I was able to get the spin I wanted, I had the feel, I had the touch, I had everything I could ever want in a racket.
This racket scored well in our Solow Sports graded review. While this racket is definitely designed to be a tweener frame for kids who want to look like Roger without their arm falling off, this racket also serves as a great platform to build from for a less physically gifted adult. The ideal player for this racket has an NTRP rating of 3.0 or higher, can switch between generating their own pace and using their opponent's, and hits with a variety of spins. Whether you play with a one-handed backhand like Roger, or a two-hander, this racket will work well for your game. Though I would argue that this racket is a rather unique weight and head size combination, the closest rackets from other brands would be the Technifiber T-Fight 280, the Yonex V-Core 100L, the Dunlop CX 200 LS, and the Solinco Whiteout 290.
We hope you've enjoyed my review of the RF Future 1619. To stay up to date on all the latest and greatest, and not just when Roger Federer drops a racket, make sure you subscribe and like this video. It helps us in the algorithm and it helps you find out what's new and what's coming in the future of tennis.